Hello my lovelies, I'm back for another video, and I am really excited because there's been lots of interest off the back of a video that I released last week, which was all around how to understand what is the path of least resistance. So in this video, I'll link it in the description if you want to go and check that out if you haven't seen it already. I talked all around what it actually means in life to follow the path of least resistance. And for those of you that listen to Abraham Hicks a lot, you know that they talk a lot about this idea about what it means to follow the path of least resistance. And I had this really interesting comment by somebody who watched the video, really in-depth comment, and I'm really grateful for him for leaving it. And you guys, like, get your comments in. I really feed off of your feedback, your ideas, your thoughts. Let me know if there's more videos, there's more topics you want me to cover, all of that kind of thing, because it gives me such an energy, okay? And the comment that I got was kind of all around this idea, because in the video I talk a lot about how following the path of least resistance is about following the easiest path. It's about what is the easy path in life. And the comment was kind of talking around this idea. Let me see, I've got it in front of me. I'm just trying to find where it was. So the comment says around defying the easy path can lead to extraordinary achievements. And this idea of actually taking the easy path, taking the hard path in life, can quite often lead us to this idea, you know, more achievements, to having more in our life. The comment talks about thinking about people who pioneered back in history. Now, I'm really excited. I wanted to make a video about this because I feel like this is something that, as a collective conscious, we struggle with this idea of easy. It's like, and I kind of really love the psychology behind words. Words carry energy to them. And there's like two energies to a word. So there's like the collective energy around that word. So when you say a particular word that's got a particular meaning, there's like a collective kind of feeling around that word, but there's also your own personal energy around that word. And the word easy has kind of, over time, I think collectively started to take on this persona of almost like laziness, of you know, not working hard enough. So if you use the word, like in business, for example, or in your work, that, you know, you showed up to work today and it was easy, or like if you talk about children at school, we always praise people for their hard work, never for their easy work, never for working, like, we praise efficiency, but there's still this kind of stigma around the word easy, and that it's almost like if you take the easy path, it's not as commendable as if you take the hard path in life. And I think a lot of this is also connected around our sort of attachment to suffering. Like, we have to suffer in order to achieve something. And so that's the first kind of thing I want to bring up around this idea of like what it means to have an easy life. Now, easy can also kind of mean boring as well. Or it can kind of conjure up that idea of like boring to a lot of people. And I don't think this is what this comment was kind of getting at, but it's really interesting, and this is why I wanted to create a video around it, and I'd be really interested to know your thoughts. Because one of the things that, like for my business, for example, is that I want my business to be easy. And what I mean by easy, so my definition of easy and the kind of energy that I feel around easy is more like alignment. I want it to be that it's like effortless. It doesn't feel like it's a hustle, like it's push. Now, it does not mean that I don't want challenge. And if you talk about like these people back in history who pioneered change, who went against the grain, those types of individuals, and I'm kind of guessing that, you know, those types of individuals are similar to myself, similar to yourself, people who desired change, not just change in the physical world, change in our societies, but change within themselves. They desired evolution. They wanted to expand. They wanted to grow. And the thing is that for those individuals, I would argue that that was their easy path, was pioneering their change, was standing out against the crowd, was going against the grain. Now, to a lot of other people who kind of don't have this very growth-driven mindset and this strong desire to want to achieve big things in their life. Now, and when I say big things, it doesn't necessarily, people often think financial when I say that, but it could be like finding such a depth of love in your relationship. Like that is, you know, something that like goes beyond the baseline is what I'm talking about when I say big things. Now, to somebody who has a strong desire for that, who does not allow themselves to follow that path, follow their soul aligned path, that is actually the hard path for them to not follow it. Because, you know, and let me know if this like resonates, you know what it's like if when you feel your soul calling you to do something. And what's really difficult is when you feel your soul calling you to do something that is so against the grain, that isn't the norm, that isn't, you know, this normal kind of lifestyle. It feels like to ignore it, to squash it down, to not follow that feels hard. It feels like hard work. But the reason why we don't make it easy and the reason why it's hard is because we are doing exactly that. We are going against the grain. We are going against the like collective conscious opinions and views. But if you're one of these people who is kind of a pioneer, then this is how change happens. It happens by people having to step beyond that and be courageous enough to follow their truth and, you know, to not be concerned about the criticism that's going to come with it, and to kind of level up around what it means to be criticized, is that you are on the leading edge. Like for any of you, you know, my previous video was inspired by listening to Abraham Hicks a lot. Like I love to listen to their videos, and they always talk about like when people go up on the stage and they ask their questions and they say like, this is leading edge conversation right here. This like conversation right now is expanding the collective consciousness. And when you are in alignment, when you are in like, you know, when you're fully in alignment, you're in that high vibration, a very small number of people doing that has a huge impact on the masses, basically. And so I think what we need to kind of do around this whole idea of having an easy life is maybe it's reterming it to having an aligned life. So the way I see it, and then I kind of wrote this down, is that the easy part is actually the alignment bit. So when I talk about in this video about following the path of least resistance, that is the bit that gets to be easy. So in order to get those synchronicities, in order to get the ideas, in order to have access to the opportunities and those like light bulb moments, you need to get into alignment. You need to lower your resistance. So you need to be in a place where you aren't resisting, where you're not creating resistance, where you're open, your channels are open to receiving. So you get into this place of allowing, of no resistance, and you connect with God, source, your inner being, your higher self, you know all the drill, like what you perceive to be that non-physical part of you, to that kind of higher power, that part of you that's connected to that. And you receive the insights, you receive the ideas, you receive the inspiration, and you're kind of given like the nod to take the inspired action. That's the easy bit. That is like source saying, okay, this is what you desire in life. This is where you want to go. This is how you want to expand. This is how you're going to do it. But what happens is a lot of the time when we get those like light bulb moments, when we get those ideas, when we get the inspired action, like sometimes like it can seem so bizarre and there's no logic to it. And a lot of the time we are heavily based in logic. And so we start to doubt it and we're like, really? Is this going to waste my time? Is this actually going to get me any further? But two, the hard part or the challenging bit, and we make it hard, we make this a challenge, but it is a challenge nonetheless, is we have to override the doubt and insecurity that comes up. So like, let's take, for example, like in business, when, you might be getting into your like flow state, getting into your zone, getting into alignment, and you get this amazing idea to do something in your business. It's really different. You've not seen anybody else do this before. And that scares you, but you can feel it. You can feel, and that's the easy bit has been given to you. The idea, the inspiration, you've got yourself into alignment. Sorry, I've got this piece of hair that's really annoying me. Anyway, you get yourself into alignment. That's the easy bit. Source has given you the next step. It's given you the piece of inspired action to take. The hard bit comes with, have to get over your own limiting beliefs and your own self-doubt and say, I'm not going to worry about what other people think. I'm not going to doubt, like, is this going to make me enough money? Is this going to do this? I'm going to just follow that inspiration almost blindly to some extent, but not blindly, but with faith and with trust that this feels in alignment to me. This feels good. And I know from experience that when things feel good, that is like that's my certainty of my path. Because actually what's feeling hard is not the idea itself. It's the thoughts that are conjured up when you think about this thing, when you think about having to basically step up to the next level. So again, like we could use like business, for example. You get that idea, and if you kind of isolate the idea, it feels good. But then when you start thinking about having to follow through with it, your head starts to create all these stories about what might happen as a result of you following through with it. What are other people going to think? You start to think about past evidence. Can I even do this? All that kind of thing starts to come up. And then this is why it's kind of a challenge, why it doesn't actually seem like the easy path to take, because you're having to reprogram yourself as part of taking this easy path. But the more you do it, the more, you follow this inspired action. And every time you feel that doubt and that insecurity come up, it's not your cue to say, don't do this. It's your cue to say, right, this is where I need to expand. This is where I need to up level. This is a gift that's been given to me. This negative emotion, as I talk about, like, in all my videos, like the power and the gifts, the gold that our negative emotions give us. This negative emotion arising here is telling me I need to work on something. It's saying, here is a nugget of gold that you need to expand upon. Okay, so that negative emotion comes up. But once you work through the doubt and the limiting beliefs and your kind of past conditioning and your subconscious patterns and all that kind of stuff, once you work through it and you begin to practice over and over again this new identity, for example, that you need to step into in order to take this inspired action, you might look back in like a year's time and what was challenging and what was hard is now easy. And so it was taking the easiest route. It was taking the easiest path in life. But again, to a lot of other people, it's going to seem like it's taking the hard route. But nothing should ever be hard when you are in alignment. Yes, there's going to be challenges to work through, but I would argue that the hard path to take in life is the one that goes against what you're in alignment with. And I would like give you an example from like my own life of like one of the things that's like perceived to be a very easy path, or the standard path in life, shall we say, and how I've completely gone against the grain of that. 2 secs. So I don't know if this is just specific to Western cultures, but very much, you know, especially in the UK, I'm from the UK, so let's, you know, just use that as an example. Very much in the UK, it is standard for you to go to school as a kid. You get your GCSEs, you then get your A-levels, and the high school that I went to. So I'll just take you through this story because it's interesting. So I went to like a fairly bog standard high school, which I hated school, by the way. School was like, it was my worst place to be. Like, I was one of those kids that I got really good grades because I knew how to get really good grades. Like, I worked out very early on how to, like, not trick the system, but like the grading systems are really not exactly like, it's about ticking boxes, you know. And I learned this like a lot of more so much when I was like older, but I would go and learn things, and quite often people would say, if you see a question that asks this, then this is the type of answer that you need to put. So it wasn't like real learning, it wasn't real deep understanding of a subject. It was really just knowing this equals that. It was kind of like maths. But anyway, so I got really good grades. Not because I was like, if you ask me about any of those subjects now, or certainly the subjects I'm not interested in now or have very little interest in, I wouldn't be able to recount any of that stuff that I got A grades for and things like that. But anyway, so I was, you know, a high achieving student in that sense, but I really did not like school. And in my school, we had a sixth form attached to it where you would go and do A-levels. And it was the norm for like basically everybody in the school to continue on to sixth form and do their A-levels there. And I remember when I was at school, and so again, this was the easy path, you know, it was like, because the sixth form was just there. So you just went to it and all your friends were still there, you know, so you just went. And I remember like when it came close to finishing up our GCSEs and deciding what we wanted to do next, that I was, I think, nearly one of the only, like certainly the only one in my class, but I think there was like there was big classes, it was a big high school, there was probably about, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 classes of like 25 kids like in my year. And I think across that, there was probably only a handful of people that did not go to sixth form. And I was one of them because I wanted to go to college. And I loved college. So I went to college and I got my A-levels, and I loved it because they treated you like an adult, and you were just, it was up to you. If you didn't like show up and do the work, you didn't get the grades, they didn't care. Whereas at school, it was very much about they needed those grades for their own numbers and all of this kind of thing. So, but yeah, you were kind of just, you were treated like an adult, and there was more adults. It was just like, I loved college. That was like some of my best like years of learning. But anyway, even when I got to college, the next thing that you were supposed to do was go to university. And again, I think out of nearly my whole class in college, I was one of the only ones who decided I didn't want to go to university. And it wasn't because I couldn't. I got, again, really good grades on my A-levels. You know, I would have had, you know, probably quite a pick. But I had no desire to go and study. I was at that time where I didn't really know what I wanted to study further. So I was like, I'm not just going to go and shove myself into unnecessary debt just for the sake of following the path that everybody else follows. So I didn't go to university. I I got a job. I wanted to start working. I wanted to start earning. And actually I did go back and do a degree later on, but I got my degree whilst I was working full time. Because this is the thing, like for me, if I'd have gone to university and followed the easy path that most people, and for a lot of people, it would have been the easy path, but it wasn't for me. It would have been hell, because I would have been sat in lectures, probably bored, just forcing myself to be there because it was the done thing. So I went and got a job and I started to climb the corporate ladder, then hence why I got, fairly high up on the corporate ladder by the time I left when I was 24 to have my first baby. And I'd already got a full-time degree whilst I was working. I think I was a manager at that point. Now, was it easy all the time? No, I had a lot of people questioning, doubting, is this really the right idea? Is this really sensible? I had a lot of people making assumptions about the fact that because I didn't go to university, I wasn't clever enough. Like that was the reason why I couldn't go. And it's like, no, actually, it's because I made a decision that was in alignment with what I truly desired and wanted to do, kind of thing. And we've done like the same thing around like how we are as a family. I got married very young. I wasn't 24 when I had my first baby. I was 24 when I got married. And I remember so many people saying like, oh my God, you're so young. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I know that this is the man that I want to spend the rest of my life with, and I'm still with him. What will it be, 15 years this year down the line? And again, so a lot of my decisions, a lot of my life decisions, initially we were going to homeschool our kids. Now we send them to a alternative school. I left a very well-paying job to become a stay-at-home mum. Everybody thought I was crazy. It's not been the easiest path, in the sense that there's been criticism and there's been doubt from others, people that really love you as well, people in your family doubting, are you sure you're making the right decision here? But I know that all of those life decisions that I've made, that to a lot of other people seem like they're really hard decisions and choices to have made, have been the easiest decisions for me, because they've been in alignment with what my soul desires and what my soul is calling me to do. It doesn't mean that there's not been challenges. It's not, and it's not been that life's been boring, easy, and it's just been, oh, la-di-da-di-da, I've just floated along, all of that kind of stuff. It's come with challenges, but those challenges, because I feel like I'm being forced to, or I'm forcing myself to follow the path of most alignment, when I look at the challenges now, what was challenging, what to a lot of people think is very hard and very difficult, I look at it and think is easy, because I've practiced at it. I've moved beyond the limitations and the limiting beliefs that came up along the way to make that my easy. So I kind of just wanted to throw this out there, because I really have this thing around words. I'm not really somebody that does a lot of affirmations. They don't tend to really work for me, but I am a very firm believer in watching what you say, the language that you use, the words that you use that show up in your day to day do define who you are. They define what your focus is and what your vibration is that you are emitting when you use those certain words. And it's kind of I want you to be mindful of, like I said at the start of the video, this idea that there's kind of always two energies, two different words. There's the collective idea around this. So easy, most people would kind of say that that's, there's a word I'm trying to look for. I was trying to look for it earlier when I said it, but it's not coming to me. It's not admirable kind of thing to follow the easy path. It's seen as more like valiant to follow the hard path. But if you had access to the easy path, and like I say, it's not about this being boring and it not being challenging, but if you had access to that, to be more efficient, to be in more flow, for life to, you know, unfold for you in the way you want it to unfold, would you not pick that over kind of slogging through it all? And whilst, yes, you do learn massively from your failures, so to speak, you learn more from them than you do your successes, I would argue that like the failures are all part of taking the easy path as well. I think what's not easy is following a path that isn't in alignment with who you are, that is just following maybe something like cultural norms, family standards, all of that kind of thing, just to appease other people rather than yourself. So just be like mindful around what these words mean to you and how you're using them. Another word that often comes up around this, and me and my dad have really like heated discussions around this word, is the word desire. And I don't know whether it's because it's for like an older generation, but the word desire is very much linked to like sinful. To desire is to grasp, to have attachment, to like cling. Whereas for me, the word desire is like expansive. It's like creation. To desire is to birth something. It's to make something. Like desire is like an innate part of us. It's a part that should never be squashed. So it's really interesting, like people's different perspectives around the meanings behind these words. But we know that words are powerful. Words carry energy with them, and it's fine if you have a perception that like easy, for example, does mean maybe lazy. It does mean unfulfilling. It does mean boring. If that's the case for you, then that's fine. Like pick something else that is like more in alignment with what feels good to you. But I just wanted to sort of clarify that off the back of that previous video around like what I meant by an easy life. So yeah, and as always, drop your comments. I'd love to know your thoughts. It's really, let's get conversations going around this. Let's, start expanding ourselves and be on the leading edge with these conversations, as Abraham Hicks would say. And yeah, also if you've got any other topics that you're interested around, any other questions, drop them in the comments, because I love feeding off of your energy. It's just like, it lights me up. And also I have, for any of you that don't already know, I have a really beautiful free gift that you can find in the description box as well, that just gets you started on this whole journey. It's a guide that I've put together around uncovering your authentic self. And it just takes you through all of the different areas that in the beginning of your journey, you want to start becoming conscious of, you want to start becoming aware of. All these different areas are going to help you to come back home to you, to start connecting you back to yourself and to start creating from that place, finding what your easy is, finding what your soul-led path is, basically. So it covers lots of different things in there around your emotions and the power of them. So what your negative and your positive emotions do for you. It talks around intuition, finding your purpose in life, finding your path, raising your vibration, all of this kind of like good stuff. So I will link that in the description box as well for you to go and check out. And that's it. Have a beautiful day. I will catch you in the next video. Much love. Bye.